Welcome back, our dear viewers. Now we are going to talk about the social and power dynamics at the workplace. And we are very much delighted to have our dear guest in the studio, Mr. Abdurrahman Magdi, our entrepreneurship expert, to shed light about that topic. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Magdi. First, between being desirable and negatively perceived, why is power such a controversial topic?
Yeah, I think like power would be a very controversial topic because it's something desirable. I think all of us would like to be more powerful, and I think all of us also do have negative experience with powerful people. So there is always like a dissonance internally when people talk about power. Is that they want more power because they equate power with freedom, though they also have experiences with the responsibility and also sometimes having to face other powerful individuals who are not allowing them to do what they want. So that's why there is always like a dissonance in the approach of power. Some people really want to go for becoming more powerful, and also they are shy away from getting into the stage of becoming powerful.
Mr. Magdi, mentioning three different types of powers. We have character, position, knowledge, and resources. What are the common traits among people with these different types of powers from your point of view?
Yeah, I think as you mentioned, like power and powerful people, they kind of come in different brackets. There are people who really have this power as a result of their possession. So they have a specific possession within the organization or the society, and based on that, they are powerful because they can practice their authority as part of this possession. There are others who is interesting characters and insights, and these people can also like influence others based on their character traits and the different abilities. And I think what all these different characters have in common is their ability to connect with other people, and also their ability to be grounded in different situations. So they are not easily moved to a specific direction. They have their own thinking, their own strategy, and when they have a person-to-person interaction, they know exactly how to deal with different characters and with different types of people. So I would say that being powerful is having a lot of self-understanding, understanding self, and the ability to profile others and understand their needs, and accordingly relate to them individually and as groups properly. And we would most likely, by then, that's what people in different like possessions of power would be able to sustain their power based on these traits.
So, sir, what is the difference between approaching interactions from status and likability perspectives?
Yeah, I think in a recent book called Popular, there have been a lot of research, especially with teenagers during the like adolescent stage, that actually classifies people into 5 like categories. There are people who are like highly accepted, or like the ones who are popular during like the high school like stage of everyone's life. We could relate whether during high school were we very popular, we were very accepted, we are very liked, or were we controversial. We can always relate to profiles of people who had been like controversial. So they are like sometimes very well liked, and sometimes also it's kind of hard to relate to them. And also there have been like others who are like ignored or neglected from the groups. So looking at the part of either being accepted and being popular or being controversial, I think that's actually gets with us as we grow from the adolescent stage into like our like current positions and what we're doing.
Yeah.
So getting back to your questions in terms of like what was the the common traits, or like how this affects the actions of people in society. I would say that we come at the current stage with the same mentality that gets from this stage, and accordingly we could see that some people yearn to status. Status is by then is something that you gain as a result of actions that could be aggressive. So status is like, I would say that I'm able to force people to do something based on my own social status. So by then, status is something that reflects authority and actions that could not be always positive. Though that likability is people who are mostly have been in the accepted category as during their adolescent stages, that they are used to being part of community. So it gets down to cooperation versus authority. Some people look at leadership positions and like being powerful from the perspective of actually having status, so being able to control people and manipulate them and moving in your direction, versus being likable in terms of like dealing with people in a fair way, so individuals would start liking you, and based on that you grow your power accordingly. And I think we can see some examples even like with some of the football players, experts like Mo Salah, for example. If you look at Mo Salah, we see that he seems to be a very nice guy, and actually people like him. So this is more like he gains power based on likability. So he's able to perform his job properly, and based on that, he actually gains a lot of likability versus a status. Others who might become a president of a specific club, or they have a specific authoritative role, and based on that, people have to follow them because of their authority and what they would do if they didn't, other than being likable.
Mr. Abdu, give us please examples of how a powerful behavior look like.
Yeah, I think like we all can actually identify that normally. Like as human beings, we could see the different aura of power that people are able to display. I think I could relate it like to this while getting into the building, because while getting into the building, the security was, because you have to enter the building with a card, so you have to have an access card. And I'm a guest, so I'm invited. I don't have access card. So while actually accessing from the gate, I did not even stop to kind of explain, but rather I continued walking and told him that I'm a guest, I have an invitation somewhere. So being proactive in mentioning why you're there and actually getting into a place as if you already know what has to be done, I think that's actually could be seen as powerful behavior, because you understand the rules and then you're able to communicate that properly without having to kind of hesitate. Another way to look at powerful behavior is response, is that sometimes when people get like negative or positive response from others, they change their attitude, their ideas, they even like they would change their facial expressions. But rather powerful behavior and powerful individuals, usually they are more still and they are more long-term thinkers, other than having some immediate response to specific change on time, which also displays that like whatever happens is not affecting me. And there are philosophies that build around that. For example, Stoicism is one of the philosophies that kind of promotes the idea of not being emotionally reactive to whatever happens, rather looking at things on its long-term projections. So I think this is something very apparent when it comes to powerful behavior. No short-term reactions, is knowing what they are doing. They follow the rules, but then they do this very fluidly and very smoothly.
So, sir, can you shed light on the social hierarchy and how can I detect my place in it?
Yeah, I think if we look at like studying how like the social structure is set up, is that we will always, like within groups, we see that there is someone in the leadership. So what do you call it, the alpha? So whether the alpha male or the alpha females, they are ones with some like strong leadership traits. They are able to lead the group and mostly influence where the group goes. So alphas are usually the extroverted. They are very good with people, they have a sense of direction, and they are very good executives. So these are the alphas who come into usually the leadership of different groups. And usually the alphas are, to a lot of extent, assert their influence on others. So usually an alpha would want others to follow them and want others to acknowledge that they are the leaders. So here comes the difference with what we call it beta, or like whether the beta males or the beta females, is that they are the ones who acknowledge that the alpha is the leader of the group, and then they work under the alpha. So they are accepting the fact that in their actions within the group is going to have to be influenced with whatever the alpha says. So these are also other individuals with leadership skills and with quite some influence, but they do not see themselves as like the deciders of their own destiny or the ones who take the absolute leadership of the group, but rather they participate under the umbrella of the alpha. And then we get to the gammas, who are actually happy to be part of the group. They do not have skills or aspirations to get into the leadership of the groups. And another interesting profile that usually coming from the controversial category is what we call the sigmas, or the lone wolves, are the ones who actually live in close proximity with the group, but they are not necessarily following the alpha. So usually they are ones who are highly independent. Usually they have an expert profile. They have knowledge and insights. They are able to survive on their own. And in a lot of cases, there might be some power struggle with the current alpha, the current leader of the group, or in some cases there could be some arrangements worked with them. Yeah. So I think looking at your situation in the workplace, and not necessarily in terms of possessions, but in terms of group dynamics, to what extent are you able to influence the decisions, you can actually see where do you relate. Are you an alpha? Are you the absolute leader? Are you asserting your dominance over others? Do you want others to submit to you? Or are you following the leader, so you're getting your stuff done, but you have a leader that you have to get back to while doing everything? Or you do not really care about that, so for you it's just about enjoying your time and doing your craft? Or are you someone who do have your own agenda, and you're slightly manipulative and you know how to get what you want? And often the alpha does not like that, because the alpha like people who follow them as they see. So I think relating to these different profiles, we would be able to identify which category do we belong to.
Mr. Abdu, how to deal with someone who is exercising excessive, unfairly power against us?
Yeah, I think this is a very tricky part that all of us face in our careers and in our lives. Usually, if we are within a group, there has to be, if it's an organization, they have to have some rules and ethos for how the organization works. And our commitment as individual would be going towards these ethos of the organization, of the probably the HR rules and etc. And sometimes people, based on either social circles or cliques within the organization, try to influence our position within the group based on how are we closely tied to them. So the best response to that is actually not a direct immediate response, but is actually becoming grounded, as if not having a very immediate reaction to every specific action that's given to us from these powerful individuals, and rather focusing on doing what we do very, very well. So becoming excellent at what we do. This is a core to be able to maintain our possession, and then referring to the rules and regulations within the organization, and also understanding that it's groups. So usually there is someone who is above this alpha within this group. If we are a group within a larger group, we'd understand that by doing what we're supposed to do very well, but then we're serving a higher status individuals and a much more powerful entity, which is the organization. And at some point in time, we might have the opportunity to showcase our commitment and showcase lots of unfair activities that's happening to us, probably indirectly through our constant efforts. So, for example, if we look at within a specific group, there's someone that's quite ignoring or putting aside someone who have qualifications to move ahead because they are not personally submissive to them, for example. If we say that an alpha who is pretty much about over-asserting themselves, and someone who has to be the lone wolf of the group because they do not think that they should submit to the same way things work. At some point in time, they might discover that this alpha, he do actually have a leadership that's mostly they are sigmas who are actually directing that. So usually in social situations and in organizational situations, we judge quickly in terms of who's in charge, and sometimes the ones that looks to be in charge, they are not in absolute power, they are not the all-powerful, but rather there are others who could be more powerful than them. And usually those who are more powerful than them, who does not want to get into the specific group dynamics, they would be looking for other contenders to their level of leadership, which also gives a lot of opportunities for sigmas. And that's why alphas always fear sigmas, because by then if they are not following them, if there is someone who's looking at the group, they would understand that it's not all following what I say, but rather there are other directions that are becoming more powerful. So by then, by doing what I do very well, and by not being overreactive on a situation-by-situation basis, but actually looking at this as a long-term strategy and transition. Eventually, we will discover that there are like higher sources that's going to notice the dynamics that's happening within the group. And sometimes it could be about exiting the group. So if this is the boundaries of this specific groups, and I could not see any solution to that, so one of the actions to be taken is actually becoming a sigma or becoming a lone wolf. So if you're used to be part of a group and by then you see that they are moving in a totally different direction, eventually that's how like people become sigmas, is that they decide to be probably for a period of time close to the group but not necessarily part of it.
Indeed.
So in 2 minutes, tell us quickly to what extent social media and technology have affected the way we deal with power.
Yeah, I think like if we look at like modern interactions, like whether socially within organizations, we will see that like power have moved into like digital profiles. So if we look at like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all these social profiles, like the number of followers probably influence like the power that someone would have within a specific group, and also it was kind of influence people's approach to power. So people would look at having probably more followers and much more intense interactions within a specific group would somehow get them obsessed about this idea of gaining status. As we talked in like popularity, the book that like compares the two different types of power, like based on likability or status. Social media has like the usually it puts mirror in front of people, so people would see themselves through the increasing numbers of interactions, like expecting the likes and the engagements, etc., which actually gets people to be more like status obsessed. They always chicken out to what extent they are gaining power. And one of the things that comes as a result of that is that there's a lot of people who have lots of followers and interactions online, though they do not actually have any friends, which is like one of the things that you would see is that they have huge followers, but they have to have dinner alone, or they do not have like any kind of intense social interactions compared to what we see online.
Mr. Abdou Magdi, entrepreneurship expert, thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And with that, our dear viewers, we come to the end of this edition of The Breakfast Show. You were in the company of myself, Maisir Abian, my dear colleague, Shireen Aidel. Thank you very much, Shireen.
Thank you, Mahisti, and see you tomorrow, dear viewers, with a new crew.